Good for her. And now that there is no longer copyrightable material,
Yes.
uh, we've got we've got some recordings to do.
We got to address the event of the summer.
We did? Oh
We've got
yes,
to
that
address the event
yeah,
of the summer.
we do have to address the event of the summer.
Yeah.
We
What
are
event? What an event it was.
yes, the release of the Meg was very important.
Yes.
No, we're gonna try our best to do a Barbenheimer uh review
I'm not gonna lie.
slash
I
conversation.
find this extremely difficult because there's like a lot I want to say. There's a lot I want to say about both movies.
You know, as someone who does not feel like he has a lot to say for any of these movies, then I think this kind of works out.
This is a chance to let a white man be heard.
Yeah.
Oh man. Just what the world has been
Just
lacking.
exactly what the
Yeah.
world's been looking for. So we're gonna start with probably Barbie because I feel like
Pause before we start.
oh
Okay. So, of the two,
oh
in hindsight now,
yes.
which is the one that you are like most excited about having seen both? And then before you saw any of them, which was the one that you anticipated being most excited about?
So the one that I anticipated, the one so I'll start with anticipation. I'll start with anticipation. Probably Oppenheimer,
Hmm.
just based on like the talent on screen and behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Coming out of it, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was very whelmed by both of them. I wasn't underwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed by them. I was like, yeah, they're both good
Hmm.
movies, but I probably will not have these anywhere near my top of the year.
Hmm.
Um, Nothing against either movie. It's just good.
There's other movies that have like
There's other movies that have,
tickled your titties more.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. There's some that have tickled my pickle better.
Yeah.
How about you?
So going into it, it's actually really funny. I thought I'd be more excited for Barbie because like the past few like Nolan movies for me haven't been like as big hits. Like I was mid on Interstellar.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
like
very mid.
I liked Dunkirk, but I like haven't seen it since it was in the
Still
theaters.
haven't seen it.
I didn't watch Tenet until after I saw Oppenheimer.
Still haven't seen it.
But I'd heard like mid things about Tenet.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, all right, like Oppenheimer. I'm always excited for a Nolan movie, but like I was like, all right, this one, like I'm not like my fanboying over the Dark Knight days are over, right?
It's
And
no longer your favorite movie of all time.
no, it's no longer my favorite movie of all time. Um, but I saw Oppenheimer and I was like, shit was dope.
It was good. It's very good. It's a very well made movie.
And I gave that shit 4.5 stars. And then,
What lagged at 5.5?
well, let's get into it when we discuss in
Okay.
detail. Um, then I saw, then I was like, oh man, like this is gonna be hard to beat. And I heard people were kind of like mid on Barbie, but I heard people were like a little disappointed like with Barbie while still liking it. So I was like, oh,
Okay.
I'm preparing to be a little disappointed. And I gave it only 4 stars, but like I'm thinking more about Barbie now
I think
than I was about Oppenheimer.
in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of things, Barbie will have the bigger lasting cultural impact.
Yes.
I did not answer the question. Out of the two, which one I liked more coming out? Barbie,
Barbie.
definitely. Um, I still, like I said, I still don't love it. I really like it. I
Yeah.
really like both of the movies. I just don't think they were anything that I was like super blown away by.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of like, I mean, I know it's a cop out, but Barbie's not the type of movie that I watch, and
Yeah.
it's not the type of movie that I'm like super invested in. And then
Yeah.
also, it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be like Javier. Look at this awesome shit.
Right. Right.
It's not. This is not the movie that's representing me.
Yes.
But I can still appreciate like what it's trying to do, and I think I do appreciate what it's going for
So here's
a lot.
my having my cake and eating it too. And if you could see me, you would know that I've had a lot of cake in my life. Because cake is fucking delicious. Anyway, that's
I
actually where we disagree. You're not
I
big
is
on cake.
better.
You're not big on cake. I uh I think Oppenheimer is the better film, and yet
It's a better made
Yes,
movie.
I like Oppenheimer better, but I'm more excited about Barbie. And if that like seems weird and contradictory, maybe. But like I look at Oppenheimer like like look at all these beautiful components. But like
Mhm.
thinking about Barbie, I'm like, oh, that was special. I do
I
think that
think
was a
it's the
special
fact
thing.
that Barbie is such a. It sounds like it should be such a basic, simple concept, and the fact that it's not makes it better.
And I think less simple than like I was almost just kind of expecting another like Lego movie, like
Yeah,
I love, and
a lot of people were.
that's not what it was.
No, it's not.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's to its betterment.
yep.
I think everything about the movie kind of from the very beginning was slightly tainted, and I know this is piling on,
Mm.
but like the fact that the original like concept of this was including Amy Schumer, who like yeah, I think people shit on her a little too
I
much.
think they shit on her too much.
Uh,
I like Amy Schumer. I don't love Amy Schumer, but I like Amy Schumer.
yeah, I like her show. I don't love her stand up,
Yeah.
but I didn't think it was like as awful of an idea to have someone who is relatively like seen as someone who's kind of mid to
Yeah.
play a Barbie, right?
She would have been a Barbie or
She
she
would
would
have
have been
been a Barbie. She would have been like I think her idea was she was going to be the ugly Barbie or like the
uh
mid Barbie,
got you.
something like that. Which again I don't absolutely like knock that idea.
Yeah.
But then when that kind of fell through, and then they started bringing in Margot Robbie,
She's
who
fucking
is
built to play Barbie.
yes,
Yeah.
she's like if someone goes,
Make me an actor in a factory who is made to play Barbie. You'd be like,
then
here you fucking
yes,
go.
here you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Honestly, out of all the casting that I saw for Barbie, the one that didn't quite mesh with me one on one was Ken. Something
Really?
about I think Ryan Gosling is a very good looking man. He's a good actor,
No, he's a
but
Ken.
I don't know that I initially saw him as a Ken.
No, he's a
Now,
fucking
in the
Ken.
movie, he does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that I fully agree with people saying that like he's the standout of the movie.
No, I don't think he is. And I think he does a
Um,
I love a lot of the components of this movie. And to the point where I wouldn't say like Ryan Gosling to me is the standout.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
there's other things in this movie that stand out to me more
Yeah.
than Ken. But I don't know if this is just like a lot of the dudes kind of going like, yeah, Barbie's cool, but Ken.
Yeah.
But I think overall, like everything from the things I love about this movie, though, I will say is the set design in this movie is fucking fantastic.
So good.
Like,
What a beautiful tribute to practical effects. And we've had this summer, but be on for both these movies.
yeah,
Be like as a sidebar, like fucking shout out to the event. Like unreplicable. You will never have another Barbenheimer.
they're gonna
Bec-
fucking try, man.
but that's the thing, because they will try,
Yep,
like
and it's gonna crash and burn so
you
bad.
can't this was serendipity at its
This
finest.
this is peak internet,
Yeah.
and I love it. This is like when you had the last Minions movie came out,
People were like dressing up in
and people
suits.
were like the gentle Minions,
Yeah.
and I'm like sitting there going like, this is so fucking stupid.
But good for you.
But damn,
Yeah.
like it made so much money for such a dumb fucking movie
Yeah. And now you have
because and now you have Barbenheimer,
yeah.
right? So like it's these internet cultural things that are now bleeding into like the normies
Hmm.
because like I went to see I didn't go see a double feature
Mm.
mainly because we went to see an early screening of Barbie.
Yeah.
So that kind of, fuck with those plans, but it's because we were excited to see Barbie.
Right.
So we were like, yeah, one day early, fuck it. Um, but also like I did not expect Barbie to be as long as it was, so I'm kind of happy that I did not spend damn near six
I think
hours.
it was just under 2 hours though, wasn't it?
I think it's just over 2 hours, or
Oh,
it's very, very close to
I'll
that
look up the
line.
runtime.
Hour
Anyway.
and 54.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean that's basically two.
Yeah.
Like that would be a 5 hour of movie plus half hour of trailers for each. That's a 6 hour commitment.
I think I saw a either 2:30 or 3 p.m. showing of Oppenheimer, which meant like we left our house a half hour before that, got there at preview time,
Hmm.
saw the previews, fucking 3 hours of Oppenheimer. I don't think I got home until about 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's an endeavor. And
Yeah.
here's the thing, the fact that even those factors did not steer people away
No, because once you're there,
Once you're there,
once
you're
you're there, you're
there.
there.
And very impressive. You love to see it.
Yeah.
Um, I do think that the most hilarious thing about it is just how mad
Oh,
people
oh.
are about.
As someone who loves being mean to Republicans on this podcast, I'm so ready to be mean to
I am
Republicans.
so ready.
Hmm.
The Ben Shapiros of the world who are
Yes.
like, this movie is going to do well the first week and it's going to crash and
Nope.
burn. Well, here's a
Nope.
million bucks, bucko.
Nope. There's this new trend going around that it's obvious, like on the internet. It's not a hashtag, but it's basically like people pointing out like once you learn that Ben Shapiro is actually a failed screenwriter, like
Yeah.
everything makes more sense. Yeah.
Oh, everything
Yeah.
makes perfect
Everything
sense.
makes perfect sense.
And he's the
Yeah.
type of guy with such a fragile ego that this is
Yeah.
this is just perfect.
Yeah.
Um, but then so we had that side of the controversy. Then we have the Oppenheimer side of the controversy now, where Japan Japan is
I
big
love
mad.
9/11 Barbie. I love 9/11 Barbie.
Japan is apparently big mad. I granted it's a generalization saying that Japan is
Right.
mad. It's probably a few
Right.
executives, probably a few older people,
Right.
but there's a lot of people who are like, "How dare you say Oppenheimer and Barbie are like cool because this is tragic?" And I get it, yes,
Well, and that came out
sure,
like kind of late
because
into
it
the
was around the
game.
time because Barbie and Oppenheimer did not release at the same time there.
Yeah.
So it was like a delayed effect because of the way release dates work internationally.
Yeah.
But then they started they started going, well, what if we did this about 9/11? And buddy, you have
Yeah.
no
Go ahead.
idea.
I can't fucking wait.
And have you seen the
I'm
memes?
ready for Polly Pocket 9/11. I've seen the memes.
Dude, the memes are so fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was Bin Laden and Barbie. I think it was Biden. What was it?
I don't know.
I don't know. It was dumb, but I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
Um, here's the thing. It's been long enough. This movie came out almost
I was on
almost a
vacation.
month ago.
Man, travel makes summer go fast.
Travel makes summer go fast.
Yeah.
And so I think it's time that we just go ahead and talk. We talked a lot about Barbie, um, because I think Oppenheimer works best to discuss more of the details
Yeah. Although
of it.
I'm happy to discuss details with both. But do you think we should go into pivot to Oppenheimer now?
Let's pivot a little bit
Yeah.
into Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
First of all, holy shit, what a cast!
What a cast.
Everybody
And
brings their A game.
and I was not aware of like other people. I had no idea Robert Downey Jr. was into it until like the initial reviews were out and
What do you
people
mean was into it?
or was in it, not into it, was in it.
I remember him being cast, and actually, I was kind of confused for a long time because the first thing that I remember seeing for Oppenheimer that made me interested was that Robert Downey Jr. was cast.
Yeah.
And so for a hot minute, I was like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
he's playing Oppenheimer."
Ah,
Then I saw that he was actually cast as Struss, and that Killian Murphy was cast as Oppenheimer, and I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, it's still cool, but."
it is. No, I forget. You're neutral on Killian Murphy in general. I can't remember.
I think he's usually pretty good in whatever he's in.
I think that if Barbie had not come out this weekend or that same weekend, like, and obviously, like we said, like if there was a character like built in a factory to play Barbie, it's fucking Margot Robbie.
Mhm.
I would say like she wins this contest, but I think like Killian Murphy, not to the extent that Margot Robbie is, but still like
Yeah, I mean,
this is a
you look up a picture
this
of
is
Oppenheimer,
this is fucking perfect. Yeah.
you're like, yeah, this guy looks
Yep.
just
He's
like
still like
we
kind
were
of
expecting.
he's still like kind of like weird and like awkward looking, and he's played like those awkward roles in like the other Nolan films, like
Hmm.
Scarecrow's like a little unhinged, and you're like, and I'm like, as someone who didn't really know anything about like Oppenheimer the man, other than that one like fucking quote from the Bhagavad Gita
Hmm.
or whatever it's from, um, I was like, yeah, I feel like this guy would be like weird and
Yeah,
like Killian Murphy esque, yeah, yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And I think the movie is it's kind of a testament to like expectations
mm,
because like a lot of people were like in it for various reasons.
yeah,
Right? There's some people who are strictly just like history nerds and they just want to see that shit. There's
yeah.
people who are strictly Nolan nerds.
I want to see that
They
shit.
want to see this shit.
Mm.
There's some people who kind of went in there hoping that they would get like more about like the bomb and all that shit.
Yeah.
That's what they went for, right? And I think at the end of the day, no matter what you went in for, you were not like disappointed.
No.
Um, like I said, I was expecting a little bit more out of like the Trinity test and
Mm.
like the spectacle that they were like touting.
Yeah.
But it's not enough for me to like say, "Well, fuck this movie."
Right.
Um, and you know, I said this. I don't know if I said this to you, but I know I said it to Colin for sure because he was super excited about it. I said I think it's the fact that I've watched a lot of YouTube that kind of ruined that explosion for me.
Mm.
Because are you aware of like who the slow mo guys are?
Maybe.
So they're a spin-off of Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
They have they're called phantom cameras.
Okay.
They're similar to like IMAX cameras, but they're able to shoot in like super high frame rates.
Yeah.
So whenever you do slow motion, it actually looks really cool.
Yeah.
You're not capped at 24 frames per second, so like shit doesn't look grainy and it doesn't look awful.
Yeah.
So like all the explosions that they do, and they've done full on like explosions. They've done fire tornadoes, and like the detail on that
Oh,
looks
that's
really
so
cool in
cool.
slow
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah.
That when I saw this, I was like, yeah, it's cool, but the
Yeah.
slow mo guys do it better. So that's the only thing, but that's not the movie's fault.
So I was for the explosion. I think I walked into it expecting the Haldo maneuver,
Hmm.
right? Where and this was actually something like I remember what before Interstellar came out, people were like, be prepared to see things on the screen that you've never seen before.
Yeah,
And I looked at
literally
it
nothing
and I yeah, and like maybe now if I go back and watch it, I can be more appreciative, but
of
like
Interstellar
yes, I've heard it age as well. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen it
since it came out.
since it came out. But that was my reaction then. I was like, okay, the visuals were cool. I was never like
You think they meant the
blown
concept?
away. Don't remember. Anyway, so then with the bomb, like I said, I was expecting like a single shot to just like fucking wow me.
Hmm.
And I didn't get that. But what I did get was like I like how I don't know how long that scene lasts. I think he did a good job of making it feel longer than it probably did, but I kind of liked how the explosion just sort of like enveloped and it kind of got to ripple out. And to me, it did feel like it felt stylistically like, oh, this was just a historical
Event.
moment that we
Yeah.
witnessed. Like the world has changed now that this works. And I liked very much how that specifically worked.
Yeah, that and that's fine. I think the more interesting thing actually is like everything surrounding that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of stuff that like you really are not aware of until you walk in because like marketing really emphasizes
The bomb.
the bomb
Yeah.
and like the events leading up to it, whereas in reality, like
There's a
there's a
whole
whole third act that's completely something just vastly different.
yes.
But I do think that one of the funniest things about this movie is just like how every 5 minutes you do the Leo thing where you're like, oh look at this guy.
Yeah.
I did not know that this guy was gonna
Yeah.
be in this movie. Uh so it's you know, not only that, but like everybody who shows up in this, even if it's just to like push a button,
Yeah.
you can tell that they're just fucking happy to be in
Even if it's
this.
just Kenneth Branagh, right? Like
She gets lines.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like even for his like
Okay,
yeah.
Josh Peck doesn't get a goddamn line, I think.
I think Josh Peck gets a line.
He might get
Yeah.
a line, but
But it was it
he
was
literally
funny.
does
I
nothing but push a
if you could
button.
ask me who Schmick is trying,
You
he's
know,
yeah,
we talked recently about someone else's like reconnaissance.
yeah,
I think it was Josh Hartnett
yeah,
because he's in this movie. I think I'm ready for Josh Peck to get his actual
yeah, for sure.
like well deserved like
Every time he's been in a thing, like people are pleasantly surprised with him.
he's good in How I Met Your Father.
He's gonna
I
have much
like him.
father. He did some like R-rated movie like years ago
The whackness.
that people liked.
Yeah,
Good for Josh Peck.
good for Josh Peck.
Huh.
So how do you feel about going into these movies a little bit more
Yeah,
in more detail? Let's go back to Barbie.
yeah,
So kind of flip flop.
yeah.
Um, the thing about Barbie that I really enjoyed was that if you watch the trailers for the movie,
Hmm.
you were not aware of like they call it a twist. I wouldn't say it's a twist because it's not like
But you're not really aware of the inciting incident. Yeah.
exactly. Which is so they go to the real world, which I do have a big issue with the way that like Barbie world differs from real world
Gotcha.
in this movie. So Barbie starts having her existential crisis.
Yeah.
Um, I do like how she goes through her daily routine.
Yeah.
Very Dexter.
Yes.
I love it. And then the Dexter comparison to me remains in that one season where he has a baby.
Oh
He
yeah.
has Harrison,
And then like you see the song play out and like
and
everything's
everything's just not
poo poo.
right.
Yeah.
And that's that day two for Barbie.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that made me laugh so much
Yes.
because I was like, this is just like that Dexter episode.
I didn't think of that comparison until you brought it up. But it's a classic move, right? Like
Yeah, shows you like their normal routine and then showing it kind of unravel.
and because like Barbie is just supposed to be this like slice of life boy,
Hmm.
right? Like you can be a doctor, you can be a cook, like whatever the fuck, right? Like I think that technique just works really well. I loved it. I absolutely loved that routine.
It was good, and I also like that the music also
Yeah.
changes along with what she's doing and when things are going wrong.
Yeah.
By the way, the soundtrack for this is actually really fucking good.
Yeah.
I don't
This
know that I would go out and listen to any of these songs on my own, because it's just not the type of music
do you like, but
that I like.
it
But
fits the scene.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think for as far as like accompaniment for the movie goes, it's really fucking good.
I think both these movies did well with sound with score and soundtrack. Yeah.
Yes, and also I like the difference in like all the Barbies. Like they're all samey but also different at the same time. Like yes, they're all Barbies, but they all have like a almost kind of like their own personality that still comes through.
And which is kind of how a Barb like it is this cookie cutter toy that's still because it needs to like still has room for like variation,
Hmm.
right? Yes, like I think stylistically they nailed that as well.
Yeah, and we touched on it a little bit, but you know, Disney World is cool.
Disney World is overrated.
Galaxy's Edge is cool,
I'm sure it is.
but fuck, dude, if they had a Barbie world,
That'd be cool.
I'd be like,
That'd be
I'd
fucking cool.
go to a fucking Barbie world because it just looks so fucking cool. Like,
I want to see beach.
I want to see
I
beach.
want to be good at beach.
I want to be good at beach. I want that to be my job.
Yeah,
If my job was just beach,
yeah.
dude, you
That'd
could
be a
just
good.
work out all day
And
and just beach off with your
and the
bros.
nice thing about that beach is there's no actual like
Water.
sand, right?
It's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's cleaner.
it's cleaner.
Yeah,
It's not as stinky because there's no fish.
yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Yes. Um, so yeah, so we are introduced to like our Kens too as well with our Barbies. And it's funny that like from the very beginning you do get a sense of like the Kens are an afterthought
Yes.
because it's true. Like anytime if you like you don't have any sisters. I don't
No.
have any sisters, but like you have cousins, I'm assuming, who play with Barbies.
I know girls, right? Like I know girls,
Sure.
but yeah, like every like it's what like Barbie is the toy.
Barbie is a toy, and you
Ken
might
is
have,
Robin. To like,
even then, like you might have a variety of Barbies,
yeah,
but usually you just have a Ken,
yes.
right? It may be a different Ken, right?
Unless you swimming in that money, but like yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
but like, right, if
yeah,
like your Barbies need a Ken.
right,
If I remember correctly growing up, like my cousins, they all had five, six, seven different Barbies,
yeah.
and they would just have one Ken.
And I think this is what the conservatives just don't understand. Like it was a girl's toy, right?
And like, what the fuck are you
Yeah, yeah,
expecting? So I like to joke. The moral of the story is be nice to the men
right.
because that's like the most cartoony like take you can possibly have in
Yeah,
this
it's
movie.
a troll take.
It's a troll take,
Right.
absolutely. But these fucking dudes, it's almost
Yeah.
like they fully believe that's the take in this movie, like that they're too mean to the men, and that
Yeah.
you should be mean to the men.
I think that a lot of people actually, in my opinion, have dedicated too little attention to the end of this movie, which is actually what I really, really find interesting. But like, I'm sure we can talk about the America Ferrera rant. I know I'm more fond of it than you are, but like,
I
I
don't
watched,
dislike it.
but I
I
watched
just
it and I was like, this is what people are like
upset about.
mad about,
Hmm.
right? And the thing is, like, it's not. I get someone being an anti-feminist and like being mad, and when I say I get that, I've seen it before. But like that rant is nothing
New.
new.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So when you're saying like people are mad at this, I completely see why people are mad at that. Now, do I think they're absolutely dumb for getting mad at it?
but
Yes.
they're so mad that they're mad to the point where it's like you feel like they've never heard this before.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's the whole like culture, like political culture, right?
yeah,
Like you always have to have something to be mad at. You can't just be like, "Oh, it happened, move on,"
yeah,
right? They have to get mad because if it's almost as if they feel like if they don't get mad,
yeah,
then they're gonna miss out,
yes,
which is so weird.
yeah,
I just don't think it's like I said. I don't think that the whole America Ferrera speech, which is like just her basically saying like it sucks being a woman.
yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of does.
it fucking
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Do I think it's something that we've heard before? Absolutely. Do I think something that needs to be so blunt in your face? I don't think it needs to be as blunt, but am I upset that it is? No. It's not a movie about subtlety. That's the thing.
Well, here's the thing. To me, why I was not mad about it is like I don't read that as being the thesis of the movie, right? If that speech was like at the end, right,
And that's how it ended.
and that's how it ended, I'd be like, all right, a little too on the nose. But like, and I forget, I should have like Googled the screenplay before we did this, but like,
Mhm.
I forget who says it afterwards, and it might be Kate McKinnon's character, I don't know, but like, they kind of talked about how like those ideas and frustrations, like hearing them for the first time, is often what's necessary to like actually make change happen,
Yeah.
right?
And I mean, and it is how they use it in the plot too.
Yeah, and I think that's how the movie really works. Like we've talked about before. I forget if we've talked about that on this podcast before, but like you and I have talked before about like slogans like "A-cab" or like "defund the police," right? How like do I personally really think like all cops are bad, right? No. But like sometimes A, emotion first and foremost isn't always perfectly logical. That's why it's emotion.
Hmm.
B, like sometimes you need to hear like hot takes to sort of like, shock you out of your complacency, even if they
Hmm.
kind of lack some nuance, to start thinking like, oh, I've never like considered it from this perspective. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, like, no, I don't actually believe that like all cops are bad, but like I do see how like they're not as reflective about their ability to like wield power
Yeah.
as they should be. And it's
Yeah,
not,
we
yeah.
we talked about that. I can't remember what episode it was, but it was when we were talking about how sometimes our very own, wing of the political spectrum, the
Yeah.
left side, is not very good at like messaging,
Right.
right? Yeah, you have to give, you have to have a policing system, but maybe they don't need billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So maybe what we really want is like a restructure.
Yes.
But you know what? Defund the police is catchier. And you know what?
It's the thing when you're angry, like you don't want to shout, reform the police. Like you
Yeah,
want to
you
shout,
want to
like
say
fuck
fuck
them.
you,
Yeah, right.
right?
And then eventually you get to the point where like you know,
Then you find that middle ground.
right.
It's
Um,
the same. It's the same idea with like people who get mad at like Black Lives Matter.
yeah.
Like no one is actually saying like fuck white people.
Yes.
It's just saying like, hey, these homies over here, they need the help right now. We can focus on them,
Right.
and then once they're taken care of, then we
Right.
can focus on everybody else. But they don't have the ability
Yeah.
to separate like everybody else's like ideas as
Exactly.
well. And I think you're right that that's what this movie is kind of not even scratching. It's almost like itching them with those things.
And I
Like,
and I like the fact that you know America Ferrera's daughter is in middle school because like I think that's the perfect demographic where you're going to be angsty, you're going to be angry, right? It's not always going to be the most rational or thought out, but you are still pointing at like shit with the world that's, shit with the world that's a problem,
Hmm.
right?
And I do think it was a nice misdirect. So, like the whole inciting incident, the reason why Barbie goes to the real world is because she started to have these like weird thoughts that
Yeah,
usually you don't have when you're a child playing with toys.
yeah,
So then she's like, why am I like having these strange thoughts, right?
mhm,
And you are led to believe that it's maybe like an angsty teenager who's,
right,
hitting puberty and having maybe some dark thoughts or whatever, but it's actually the mom that's the one
yeah,
playing with the Barbie,
yeah.
which then makes sense because, like, yeah, we're adults and we're relatively emotionally stable, but there's days where you're driving down the street going, "Fuck all this."
And that's what's cool. And like also fuck the crowd of like, I took my child to see Barbie and I couldn't believe blah blah blah. Like this movie is for millennials.
This movie is. It's
Yeah.
you know what? This movie is for millennials in the same way that I think Megan is for millennials,
Yeah.
where they kind of take you and they go, "Look at your fucking self."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you kind of suck sometimes,
Right.
and sometimes you need to realize that. And I think that's something that, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm out of line, but I feel like a lot of other generations don't do that.
Mm,
Like, very rarely do you see a movie made by boomers
mm.
for boomers that says, boomers, you kind of fucking suck.
Yeah, I don't know.
You see it from like a younger generation making a movie for another generation
Right.
with those messages. But you don't really, you see a lot lately of like a millennial making a movie with other millennials, written by millennials, saying we kind of suck and we need to change some things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think for as dumb as we can be as a generation,
You're self-aware.
I think we do have a self-awareness that a lot of others, and I
Yeah.
wonder what Gen Z is going to do with that.
This is a beautiful fruit of this film. Like it was able to make this white man pat himself on the back for how self-aware his generation is.
Uh-huh.
Um the the thing that I liked most about this movie, and I'm curious to see like what, because I do have problems with it, and I'm curious to see what yours are.
With Barbie.
With Barbie.
Hmm?
But before that, I think the thing I like most about it is the ending. Um, I think this is where I find the thesis of the film. Like, we don't know what equal like Barbie world looks like.
Actually is.
And this is where, like, now I haven't seen the 40-minute Ben Shapiro video, so like to his credit, I don't know if he brought up this point, but
Okay.
like, I think this is the thing the conservatives are missing. Like, the film is aware that like Barbie world as it was, right?
Kind of sucks. For not for Barbies, but for
Yeah,
the
like
Kens.
it's like that wasn't the answer, right? It clearly, because we live in a patriarchal society, it's very easily able to point out how like patriarchy isn't the answer.
Hmm.
But I think like where I have to applaud it most is it's like, yeah, we don't know what like the more equal world looks
Well,
like, right?
and even and,
And
and
that,
even at the end of the
yeah,
movie, like there is no answer,
yeah, and
right?
that's part of the wonder. It's like, yeah, like now that we've, I kind of remember these conversations about patriarchy really starting in 2014. Not that they weren't happening before that, but that's when they registered for me because of that. I forget his name, and that's probably for the best. But like the guy who went in and shot the sorority girls because he was like this mad incel, and he made the video. Do you remember what I'm talking
I
about?
know who you're talking about, but
Yeah,
again, I don't care enough about him
yeah.
to know his name.
That's where I remember starting to see the word like patriarchy pop up a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that like what I feel is really cool and intriguing about this movie is it's saying like, we're able to point out problems. The fact is like we don't know what the more ideal society looks like, and that's okay. Like that's what it's fun to be curious about it. It's fun to be playful about it. That's why I think like this movie as being a movie about a toy works because it's, toys are inherently about imagination and wonder. And it's like we could have a better world. We don't know how to envision it yet, but like it's kind of cool that it's a possibility, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of what made me really fall in love with this movie, and that's what I find. That's I think why I'm so more excited about this movie. Like the more and more I think about it.
Yeah, I do think that the again we said it's kind of a twist, but not necessarily like a twist. It's
Yeah,
just we just didn't know what the third act of this movie was,
yeah,
right? With Ken going to the real world and going, holy shit,
yeah. Men.
men, men are the ones who actually like
Yeah,
run shit
yeah,
here. That was so fucking funny.
yeah.
Like his there's a world, there's gotta be a kind of this movie where it's he's obsessed with something else other than horses. And I don't know what it is, but I love the fact that it's horses.
I loved the fact, and I really hope that this is poking fun at the demographic I think it's poking fun with. When
Cowboys?
no, when they ride up to like Barbie's mansion, I forget if it's post the like beach battle scene, but like they're doing the fucking like Monty Python, like,
Ah, I
and
see
I'm
what you
like,
mean.
I hope you are really making fun of these neckbeards. I
Yes,
really think you are.
I know exactly what you're
Yeah,
talking about. I
yeah,
know I had a very similar
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I fucking hate Monty Python.
I love Monty
I
Python.
hate it. I hate the fandom.
The
I
fandom
hate
is annoying. The
I
fandom is
hate the
annoying.
humor.
Yeah, the fandom is annoying. Yeah.
If there's one thing that I'm like, how did white people become like the dominant race? Is the fact that Monty Python and this fandom exists. Uh, that's a thing that I could snip out and just put on my like, this is my soapbox.
But it's so beautiful to see these like, these like chiseled men, the Kens, and then
Galloping.
peak neckbeard behavior of doing like the
Yeah.
horse thing, sands
All they need was some
sands the
coconuts.
coconuts, and just putting them together and be like, it's the fucking same.
It's a Um, but yeah, so like oh by the way, what a year for what's the dude? The black dude who plays Black Ken.
I don't know.
Uh something Ben Venadier.
I don't know.
But he's Gravik in Secret Invasion. He's
Yeah,
Ken, and now he's also going to be Bob Marley in like less than a
yeah,
year.
for him.
Good for him.
Good for
Get
him.
them checks.
Get them checks.
So here's the thing. I think the thing that's most exciting to me about Barbie is just how it's going to demonstrate that Hollywood is unable to just not take the wrong lessons.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because this movie came out, you took a concept that sounds like it should be simple.
Right.
Barbie movie. We've had Barbie movies
Right.
for decades. Like we've had animated movies, we've had computer generated movies, right?
Hmm. I see.
But they took this idea and they made it something, I don't want to say tangible,
Yeah.
but they made it something different, something distinct.
Yeah.
And what does Mattel do?
Let's make our
Let's
own.
make Polly Pocket, let's make Hot Wheels, let's make Magic 8 Ball,
Yeah.
let's make all of this shit. And you just know
And here's the
it's
thing.
not going to work.
Barbie was such a good candidate for this type of movie because, like, the Barbie toy was like a very problematic toy. And,
Mhm.
like, yeah. And I think, like, it's a toy worth interrogating. I don't know. I don't know what's interesting about a Hot Wheel.
Here's the thing. What can you
Like,
possibly do with a Hot Wheel that you haven't done with Fast and the Furious?
well, what can you do with a Polly Pocket that, like, you haven't done with Barbie?
Exactly.
Like the
Like
tier list here, taking from an expert, the tier list is Barbie, Bratz, Polly Pocket. Like,
brats at least have like the humongous heads.
that's the thing. Brats are like, if Barbie is if Barbie is like your, uh honor roll cheerleader, Bratz is smoking weed in like the girls' locker room, right?
Excuse me, that was Monster High.
Oh, forgive me.
Here's the thing.
Forgive
It's
me.
J.J. Abrams is the one making the Hot Wheels movie.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me? Isn't he busy?
With what?
Oh, J.J. Abrams. I don't know
J.J.
why.
Abrams.
Excuse me. I don't know why I registered that as why am I blanking on his name? James Gunn.
Oh.
Oh, well then,
I would watch a James Gunn Hot Wheels movie.
yeah.
I feel like he's imaginative enough.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Excuse me, I've seen Star Trek.
How are we gonna?
I've seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
This fucking
How are
J.J.
we?
Abrams
No.
homie has
How
no.
are we gonna mystery box Hot Wheels? The first one ends with the more the it ends with having a perfectly sustainable renewable fuel source, but we don't know what it is.
The only thing I could see is like it could be cool, like having like bonkers looking tracks. But other than that, like I just don't like. Is this just again just shows that these
Yeah.
this is more fuel to the fire that Hollywood really needs to rely on its actors and writers
Well, and here's the
more
thing.
than the directors, more than the producers.
And here's the thing. The nice thing about this is it does, these you've seen it in like every cinematic universe now. Even now it's touched, even touched Disney with Star Wars and Marvel,
Mhm.
even, given recent turns. When these universes get too big for their britches, they course correct and implode a little bit. Like that dark universe or whatever it was going to be
The
called
Dooku,
is,
the Dark Universe,
yeah,
Cinematic Universe,
gone. DCEU
gone.
gone. Even Marvel and Star Wars were like, all right, we gotta cut back a little bit.
You
Uh,
know what the funny thing
hmm.
is? Besides Marvel, can you name the other most successful cinematic universe? You've seen the movies, some of them,
Movies.
movies, and it's not the cinematic.
Conjuring?
The Conjuring.
Yeah. Well, that one works because you really don't have to like you really can walk into a Conjuring verse
Yeah.
movie and be like, I haven't fucking seen anything else here, and like
Hmm.
I'm just here for B tier horror,
Yes.
like like at best.
And sometimes it hits really well.
Sometimes it hits.
Sometimes you go in for B tier and you get some A tier.
Yeah,
Sometimes you go in for B tier, you get some C tier, but you're not
yeah,
even that mad.
yeah.
But that's the thing. That's because these people need to be left alone to kind
To
of
do what
do.
they want to do.
And I feel like this Mattel thing is just proof that they are not ready for that
Yeah,
release.
it makes me. There is a universe out here where the Mattelverse does really well. Disney sniffs, they purchase, and then you basically get live action Toy Story with
Oh
with
God, I hate it.
with all
I hate it.
with all the Mattelverse live action
I
figures.
hate it so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, wait. What did you not like about Barbie though?
Oh, all right. So
Yeah,
so you have this like fantastical Barbie world,
yeah.
right? And as far as like you're aware, like America Ferrera lives in what is supposed to be our real
Mm.
world, right?
Hmm.
Everything that they show in the movie is what I implied to be, or what I assumed was to be like a take on our world, right?
Yeah,
But as soon as you hit Mattel, like the Mattel headquarters,
it's
those
wacky.
people do not act like people.
Yeah,
Those people are all acting like cartoon characters
yeah,
in the Barbie world.
yeah.
So, like, to me, I'm like, this is no longer like, now you're caricaturing like a caricature.
Hmm.
And like, to me, I'm like, well, it would have been better, I think, if you actually took the real world, like if it was real.
And then okay, so I
That was just like again, it's very minor. It does
yeah,
not draw a lot. It's just like one of these. I was like, oh, like yes,
yeah. Will
you
Ferrell.
hire Will Ferrell,
Right.
but like Will Ferrell, like say what you will about the man, he does have acting range.
Yeah.
If he wants to be serious, he can. You don't have to be like
Yeah, cartoon.
stupid.
Right. One of my critiques is leveled in the same place. I'll say one, and I don't know how I would have pulled this off. I think I kind of wanted a bit more backstory on America Ferrera and daughter.
Yeah, they're
That
very undeveloped characters.
Yeah, I wanted a bit more of that. So I have a Mattel critique. I didn't mind that Mattel was like cartoony because I kind of also saw it as like poking. It was to me, I kind of took it as like Greta Gerwig like poking fun at the corporation. Um, and I was impressed with how many shots she was able to take like at Mattel
And
with the movie.
Mattel, that was great.
But I think where I felt, I don't know how much of this is just like studio interference or like what, what becomes of Will Ferrell's character and the Mattel goons at the end of this movie? Nothing, right?
Nothing. They go back to their cushy jobs, and now they're profiting off of Ken's having somewhat more of a.
Yeah, so that to me was actually what annoyed me the most was that um where Mattel was permissive enough where you could like like you can poke fun at the corporation,
I love
but like
the
there's no way, but they wouldn't let him stick the landing.
I loved the bit where Barbie goes, I will talk to your CEO. And he's like, I'm the CEO. He's like, oh, but where's the woman? He's like, oh, we had a
Yeah,
woman CEO back in the
yeah,
80s or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
So like there is some self-awareness there, right? I think it's the fact that they allowed these like executives to be so cartoony
Right.
that it made all those jabs feel like they're not hitting as hard because it's like, oh, you're poking fun at these cartoony people.
Yes.
Whereas, like, if you were to have made them what they are, like fucking cutthroat,
Yeah.
like that's what they are. Like they're schemy, they're
Right.
greedy. Like,
The movie lampooned them enough where you're like, haha, corporation's bad. But like it never was like, oh, like these people are actually at the root of like a
the
lot of the
problem.
problems,
Yeah,
right? Um and like I'm sure Mattel would have never like I mean Disney doesn't, like with US military propaganda, Disney also, won't let its films like look at like
yeah,
systemic issues. So I mean, minor-ish critique because I don't think
yeah.
it broke the movie for me, but like one I felt was necessary to point out.
Before we move on to our second bit
Yeah.
of this thing, first of all, actually, I want a big shout out to Greta.
Yeah.
I am not a Greta stan.
I don't like Lady Bird.
I fucking hate Lady Bird.
Yeah.
I actively dislike. I watched that movie. I walked out and I was like, "This fucking movie blows. How
Yeah.
dare they waste my time?" Yeah,
I
I
I
was.
I really enjoyed Barbie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was very surprised by how good this Barbie movie was, and I'm glad that she is getting that coveted first billion-dollar movie.
Yep.
Good for her.
Deserved it.
Very well
Deserved it.
deserved. And then the last thing I really want to say is God bless Margot Robbie.
God bless Margot Robbie.
She can cry and still look drop dead hot.
God bless Kate McKinnon too in this movie. I think Kate McKinnon does. I don't mean it from like a physical attractiveness standpoint. I think Kate McKinnon is also the perfect choice for Weird Barbie.
I mean, yeah, but I also really dislike that about Kate
I
McKinnon.
really like Kate McKinnon.
I cannot stand Kate McKinnon. Anytime she shows up on anything on SNL that anyone sends me, I'm like, I'm done with this video. I just don't. I don't
Nah.
know. Like she was in that. What was that movie? The she was in the Ghostbusters movie,
Yeah.
and I was like, if anyone's gonna have an issue with me disliking this movie, is because I fucking can't stand Kate McKinnon. God damn it. But I mean, again, everybody brought their A game.
Yep.
Even she did a good job in the movie being the weird Barbie. It
Yep.
makes sense, fitting.
Yep.
I just don't like that style.
Did we shout out Simu Liu?
No, but I mean, to be fair, I don't think he got a lot.
He was a good rival, Ken.
He was a good rival,
Yeah.
Ken. I love that last bit where like they do like their fight
On the beach.
on the beach.
Excellent.
Very, very silly, very
Excellent.
fun.
Top Gun taken to its logical conclusion.
Before I forget, you
Hmm.
want to know why I know the Republicans don't actually give two shits about like the trans issues?
Because Republicans are bad people.
That too.
But
But the fact that there's a trans Barbie and no one fucking brings it up.
oh.
Because they don't fucking know. They
Oh.
only get mad when someone brings something up.
Yeah.
And the fact that nobody, I mean, she's just a fucking actress.
Yeah.
And no one fucking gives a fuck.
Yeah.
But it's because no one is in their face telling them there's a trans Barbie.
Uh,
No one's fucking brought it up. I don't know if Ben brought it up, but the fact that I haven't heard or seen any clips of Ben shitting on this movie
yeah.
because there's a trans Barbie, nobody fucking knows.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a trans actress in
Yeah.
this movie. Yeah.
And you know what? It doesn't fucking matter.
Correct.
And these fucking people are clowns. Anyway,
Yep.
Oppenheimer. I think what is there to say in Oppenheimer besides that it's very good and that be ready for three very different acts?
I will say um the best take I've heard about this movie has been said by someone else. So I forget if it was Dan Muriel or Jeremy Johns.
You take it as your own.
And I'm not gonna take it as
You
my
take
own.
it as
I'm
your
not gonna
own.
take it as my own, but I will say, if you, every Nolan movies from basically Dark Knight Rises up through Tenet have kind of like not been as universally loved as like his earlier work, right? I'd say this one is pretty much like this one I really haven't heard, anybody leveling like critiques at this one yet.
Hmm.
Um, and they basically said it feels like everything that he's done in those movies has felt like practice for this, where like it's the timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly stuff, like the science obsession. Um, I'm trying to remember other like just in terms of like writing historical biopics, right? Or
Yeah.
historical pieces.
Hmm.
Like it felt like he was taking things, practicing them, and like implementing them in this movie and doing a better job. And I think like when you look at this movie in the context of his greater work, it's like, yeah, I think you have to praise, like to put it very bluntly, you have to kind of praise him for like trying something, taking feedback, and like
Yeah.
improving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
which
will
is hard
say,
for someone who's considered like at the top of their profession to do.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
and here's the thing. If anybody else had made this movie,
Yeah.
I would not have probably seen it.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
I do think Oppenheimer is a very interesting person.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about him,
Yeah.
um, besides from what I've heard in like passing.
Yeah.
We never really even talked about him in like any of like
No,
American history
you just know the
classes.
one quote.
You know the one quote,
Yeah.
maybe you catch a random History Channel
Yeah.
documentary about the guy. But if it wasn't because of the talent attached to this,
Yeah.
I feel like a vast majority of the internet and the population would not really have given a shit about this movie.
Yeah.
Um, and that is a testament to like just how beloved Christopher Nolan has become in this zeitgeist, right?
Yeah.
Like he can make a movie about, weird like backwards time movements
Yeah.
and shit. And it's very but then his next movie still has such like just like bombastic like
Yep.
hype, right? You can make a movie that honestly like bored the hell out of me, which was
Interstellar.
Interstellar,
Yeah.
and like I still went to see this,
Yep.
right? So you know he is. They do say that there's a handful of people that you go see,
Yep.
right? Tom Cruise,
Tom Cruise.
you go see Jordan Peele movies for Jordan Peele.
Right.
You go see Scorsese movies for Scorsese.
And even that one, I would say, I feel like of the three you've mentioned so far, I think Scorsese's fallen off the most.
Possibly,
Right.
but I also feel like he's not making as
And
many.
that's an undercutting his work. Right.
Back when
Yeah.
he was making movies
Right.
more
But
frequently,
he's
right?
definitely past his prime.
For sure, 100%. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But Nolan,
You're seeing Nolan for Nolan.
you're seeing Nolan
Yep.
for Nolan,
Yeah.
right? And that's huge,
Yeah.
right? And not a lot of people can say they have that pedigree, even if they make a movie that's kind of mid.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting because if you're thinking about like what this movie is saying, it's not saying a whole lot that's like new, right? But like I think like that ending scene to me, I will say like that's what gave it like that's what pushed it past the 4 stars.
It's good.
So
I really do like it. I will say anyone who, because there's so many, people like exaggerate their takes online.
right,
But people are like, "Oh, that last scene gave me nightmares and chills." I'm
it didn't
like,
give me
"Calm
nightmares.
down, don't be a
But
fucking pussy."
it was good.
I think that last scene makes the movie better.
Yes,
It's what
it hits the point
it
home.
hits the point. It's the
Yeah,
actual importance behind everything that you just
yeah,
watched,
right.
right? Because otherwise, anything in here you could have gotten from like a textbook,
Yeah, like
right?
we know that like nukes, right?
It
Like
looks bad.
nukes,
Oh, who could have said that?
they're a ticking time bomb. But like
Exactly, right?
what this movie to me is very good in I won't say showing, not telling, but letting you experience and not telling you. Like I know nukes are a ticking time bomb, this makes me fucking feel that like, oh, like,
Yeah, and I think it's
yeah,
the
yeah,
realization. I think that paired with the fact that this is the dude that made it happen.
yeah,
And if he's like, holy shit,
mhm,
no one should be trusted with this, that I think is what really, really brings us home.
yeah,
I do think it's very good the way they focus so much on the last act.
yeah.
Because there is a world where this movie just ends
At the
at
Trinity
at
test,
the Trinity test. Maybe they have things about them dropping it, and maybe you have the scene of them at that gym where
right?
he's starting to kind of realize, well, what have I done?
Yeah, you could end the movie
And you can
there.
end the movie
Yeah,
there, and you'd be like, cool,
yeah.
right? But I think the fact that then they show the struggle of him kind of going against the government.
He's a cog. He's a cog in a.
Yeah, that
He's yep, yeah,
realization that you are nothing but a stepping stone
yeah,
for this country. They will use you, they will chew you up, and they will spit out whatever's left of you, and they will not give you a second thought.
yeah.
I think it's the fact that he became such a well-known like name in in politics and government because of what he did,
Yeah,
that he was able to maybe claw his way back a little bit.
right.
But I do the like how that's paired up with what Einstein tells him. Which, by the way, anytime I saw fucking Einstein show up, I was like, hoikey toikey toikey. I don't know why he just looks so fucking. He looks like a person who should not exist.
That's where. That's
He
true. That's
he
true.
just looks like
Yeah.
I don't know. He just looks like such a fake person.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And you mean like not the character's portrayal? You just mean Einstein himself?
Einstein himself.
Yeah. Look
I
like
think the character who plays him looks a lot like Einstein, but I swear to you, found that when I was watching the movie the first time, people laughed every time they saw
it
Einstein.
is when the movie feels its most Avengers-y. Like
No,
whenever Einstein.
you want to know where the movie feels the most
I
Avengers?
would love to hear. Yeah.
They go, uh, so at the end
Oh
of the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
movie, at the end of you know where I'm going with this. End of the movie,
Kennedy.
Struss loses his candidacy for cabinet position or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and they're
Some
like, "Who voted? Who voted no?"
the junior senator from Massachusetts, some guy named Kennedy.
Robert,
Yeah.
Robert F. Kennedy.
I think it was
Bum,
John.
bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, yeah,
And I laughed.
yeah. Yeah.
I audibly laughed.
Well, it's funny
There's a
because
beat.
there's a
There's a
beat,
hold for applause beat.
and you know where he's done that before?
Oh, at the end of The Dark Knight
Yeah,
Rises.
that's my real name, but you can call me
You can call
Rob.
me Rob.
Yeah. What else is interesting about this movie? And this is really this is now me really being obnoxious. This is his most liberal movie.
Yeah, I think as far as his movies go, this is his most like fuck the government, like
Yeah.
anti-establishment.
There was a recent piece out about how, and I don't know how recent it is, but he was like, I don't know why people read Dark Knight Rises as a conservative movie. Like I always thought, like he like thought like Bane represented like autocrats.
Oh,
And I think he gave I think that interview was definitely post Trump. I don't know how recent it was, but it was definitely like post Trump being president. And I was like, bruh, no,
no.
like that movie came out during Occupy Wall Street. That's a very like conservative
It's a very
movie.
conservative
And for
movie.
me, actually, like as much as I love to shit on Republicans, like you want good conservative media, actually like watch a Nolan movie, right? And to be fair, like the conservatives like his work, but I'm like, if you want like, a rightish wing take that isn't total shit, like yeah. Like
Here's the
there's
thing.
people who can do it.
Here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I like to think that in order for society to actually function properly, you need to have a good balance of left and right.
You're right, just doesn't
And
have to be like
I
batshit insane.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I think Nolan
Yeah.
does a good job at showing a lot of those conservative ideals in a very like
Yeah.
I don't want to say like balanced, but like in a very like
You cheer for the cops in Dark Knight Rises.
yeah, you
Yeah.
want the cops to
Yeah.
win. You want the cops to help Batman,
Yeah.
and you want Batman to like reestablish
Uh,
government.
Like you and I both like Kingsman, like the movie that
Those
literally
movies
the
are very Republican
the movie that
movies.
literally shows Obama's head blowing up. Like is like it's a very like individualistic like systems don't matter movie. And like you can disagree with the points, but you can say like this movie is honest and is being like competently made. Like you
Yeah.
don't see the main actors for this movie going around touting adrenochrome, like or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, this movie I will say like actually like authentically feels not conservative.
Yeah, I mean, this is his most like anti-war like
Yeah.
movie, his most like disarm like nuclear disarmament.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you're explicitly dealing with like the ramifications of McCarthyism, which was a
yep,
Republican phenomenon, right?
absolutely.
Uh,
And I mean, we have that happening right now, so I feel like that hits even
yeah,
harder. You know, you have all these like who's a groomer, who's not a groomer,
yeah,
uh
uh,
discussion going on. So yeah, I think it's very topical, and I'm honestly very surprised
yeah,
that not a lot of Republicans are like actively turning on him for this.
yeah.
Because I mean that Struss represents that like that kind of cutthroat like mentality in government
hmm
that like is what gets you ahead. Like you know you manipulate and
Yeah,
everything.
you manipulate, you fuck people
You
over.
fuck people over.
I mean, you have communist protagonists in this movie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. What do
allegedly.
allegedly? What do you not like about this movie?
I think what I don't like about this movie is that there are some parts that just feel too long.
Yeah.
This is not a movie that needs to be 3 hours long. I get why I think maybe
hmm
Nolan wanted this movie to be as long as it is. I just don't think it needed to be 3 hours long.
Mm.
There are a lot of things that you could absolutely like trim down. There are things that I just don't think are as fascinating as he thinks they are.
Yeah.
Um, that I just think could have maybe been trimmed. I don't want to say cut. I don't think there's a lot of scenes in this movie that I would be like, you can cut them. There's a lot of scenes that I think you could absolutely trim a couple seconds off, and then
Yeah.
collectively it would add up to about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what
Um,
I don't know what I don't know what I would cut. The so I will say I think this movie is an improvement of him writing female characters. Um, I think you could still tell that it's kind of like a weakness of his.
one of the podcasts that I listened to was like, this movie gave him the perfect out.
Yeah,
That he's like, oh, well, this movie's seen from the perspective of Oppenheimer, and he was kind of stupid when it came to women.
yeah.
So
So there you go.
there you go.
I think his wife. I think that scene with his wife.
If a movie is going to get Emily Blunt her Oscar nomination, it's
This.
this movie, and
Yeah,
it's that specific scene
yeah.
where,
I think she comes off as a very strong character here.
yeah,
I do think the stuff with Florence Pugh is like a little male gazy.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think all those sex scenes are awkward. Um,
They're awkward. Listen,
yeah,
and the people will say like Hollywood needs to be more horny again. I think we don't need that necessarily to have
yeah,
a. If you think that having sex in a horror movie or in a movie makes it better, then I think your core concept of the movie is lacking.
yeah,
I don't think it needed it. It didn't need it. I think it's hilarious that I can't remember what country it is, but they're CGIing a black dress in Florence
yeah,
Pugh,
yeah,
and it looks so goofy, and I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
There was a thing that I wanted to. What was it? I think a lot of the stuff with the communists was a little repetitive.
Mm,
Like I get it, there was distrust. I just don't think it needs to be like so drilled in your head.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, it does add to the end of the movie where he's kind of getting torn down because of his like oversights.
so here's what I will say on that. So I will say I was a little confused at the beginning of this movie. Um, and at first, I still kind of like take his time, like his, is it three timelines? Or is it two? Is it two timelines? I don't.
So there's the pre-college,
Yeah,
which leads into the stuff with him
yeah.
getting the job
There's
and
the black and white
everything.
timeline.
It's a black and white timeline. And then there's also like the stuff with Struss after.
Yeah. So anyway, it wasn't until the
Well,
end.
it's not timelines, right? 'Cause, like the black and white is just
Right. Right.
perspectives,
Anyway,
right?
whatever you want to call it, the not the timelines, but the yeah perspectives. It wasn't until the end where I felt that that really like worked. I think early on though, even though some people like don't like this movie. Like I could have really used like a Zurich, 1933.
Ah, you need a little chart to tell you.
Yeah, because at the beginning, like how pre World War II are we?
The
Yeah,
aging effects on this are a little weird because I mean Cillian Murphy is not a young man, but he's
no,
also not he doesn't look super old
yeah,
either.
yeah,
So like I'm like, how old is he? But I mean, I think it's implied that he's like maybe grad student
yeah,
at that point, studying abroad.
yeah.
Um, I do like the idea of the objective versus the subjective.
Mm,
And I like that they make it very clear, like, this is what we think happened in the colored version, and then this is what we know for sure is documented
mm,
in the black and white. So I do like that concept.
yeah.
Um, I love the random like implication that that Florence Pugh's character was just fucking murdered.
Murdered. She killed
Yeah,
herself, right?
no.
Oh.
There's a shot in that scene where they show that she's like kneeling down by the tub.
Mm.
She's supposed to going to drown herself, but then there's a cut back to that exact same scene where you see a black gloved hand
Oh, I don't remember that.
come up from behind her
Yeah,
head, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny.
yeah.
That you're like, is this like government doing this to like
For their own.
for their own protection
Yeah.
or whatever? I do, I think there's a lot of names in this movie
Mm.
that I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this person is.
Yeah.
They're telling you their name like you remember them from like half an hour ago,
Right.
which I think is also a problem with the movie being so long.
Yeah.
There's times where like a character shows up, fucking Josh Peck shows up at the beginning of the movie at some point,
Right.
and then like
You
he's
don't see
gone
him
for
later
an
until yeah,
hour,
yeah,
and then he's there at the Trinity test.
yeah.
And if it wasn't because I fucking know Josh Peck,
Right. You're
I
like,
have
who the
no
fuck?
idea who the fuck this person
Which is
is.
where actually, which is where star power was actually conducive to this film.
Hmm.
Because like the question's been asked, like, was it a distraction? And my answer here was no. And I think actually this is
The
where,
cameos?
yeah, and I
No.
think this is actually where you kind of need that, where it's like if your story demands that like certain characters just like won't pop up for a while, you need like some sort of flag to make me know like who the fuck was this?
Yeah, you need to be like, oh, this
This
is
is
fucking Casey
fucking
Affleck,
Josh
the
Peck.
same
Yeah, yeah,
dude from
yeah,
this room, and then
yeah,
he's in this boardroom.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's I had no issue with the cameos,
no,
and I love the fact that again Christopher Nolan has such status.
yeah,
It can be like, hey, you want to be in my movie for like 10 seconds? You're like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, why
So the last question I have, and you can still have as many questions as you want, but the last question I have is famously what made this such a compelling, memeable event is that you had like two movies that just appeared totally opposite. And then I saw them both and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck these have to do with each other, like at all. If you were to find a common thread in between Barbie and Oppenheimer.
both of these movies are vastly like they're vastly different
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. But honestly, I think that really ends with color.
Yeah.
But both of these movies are very existential.
Yeah.
Like the end of Barbie,
Yeah.
I honestly think, yes, we end on that downer, um, um, where we realize what Einstein actually said.
Oppenheimer. Not Barbie.
Huh?
And it continues.
In
Yeah, yeah,
Oppenheimer,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So in Oppenheimer, we end with the revelation of what actually happened,
Hmm.
what Einstein said to
Yes.
to
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 Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer that caused Struss to be so like fucking
Paranoid.
paranoid,
Yeah.
right? Which is again, that was really good,
Hmm.
showing that and seen multiple times and showing like the different perspectives where Struss is so paranoid that they're talking shit about him, that they're plotting against him,
Right.
and he is the last thing on their fucking mind.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are so preoccupied with what is about to happen,
Right.
whereas like Struss is such a small picture
Yeah.
guy compared to like
And
these
he
two.
totally inflates his. Oh,
Exactly.
that's so a side character really tried to main character himself in
Absolutely.
this. Yeah. Yeah.
This is a perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, listen. I know I'm biased because I love
RDJ.
Robert Downey
Yeah.
Jr. But like,
He came to play.
if this doesn't get
Yeah.
him he was robbed I know people love Dark Knight. I know
Right.
people love Heath Ledger.
Yep.
And I know people love his Joker. I think Robert Downey Jr. should have gotten the Oscar for Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
That's the hill I will
Yeah.
100% die on.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking hilarious character,
It is a hilarious
played
character.
so well
Yeah.
with a topic that like people say that could not happen today. I think that absolutely could happen because that movie did not treat blackfacing as like
Oh, this is
something that
cool.
was cool.
Right.
It was definitely something problematic,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think it was addressing it in a way that I think was good.
Was good.
But anyway, I love the idea though that if he gets this Oscar nomination, which he will,
Hmm.
but if he gets the win, it would be Christopher Nolan giving him back. Like, I'm sorry for what happened in 2008. I'm sorry. But yeah, he main charactered himself.
Yeah.
But I think the movie then leaves you with this existential like dread of, well, we set off a chain that was the hypothetical, right? Like,
Right.
what if we start this thing that's never going to stop and we blow up the world,
Yeah.
right? What they didn't realize was that
It will.
it
Yeah.
will. It
Just
absolutely 100%
just
will.
not immediately.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not going to be a boom, you're done in
Yeah.
10 minutes. It's now taken
However many.
however many years,
Yeah.
60 years now,
Yeah.
maybe more.
Plus. Right. We'll see.
But I think the whole thing with Barbie is
Mm.
just as existential of
Yeah.
this doll who like perceives herself as like having an identity,
Yeah.
but then towards the end of the movie, like that is completely stripped. Like what am I if I'm not perfect?
Yeah.
And so like I feel like I connected a little bit more with that.
Yeah.
But that's the thread at least that I have.
So mine was less so with the themes themselves, but more so I don't know, just like who this movie is made for. Like Barbie is obviously like a movie for white women. Like Nolan films are pretty much for like white men,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And I think it's interesting to see
this is white people summer, dude.
this is white people summer, right?
We tried with the blackening and it didn't work.
But that's but that's like in like this age of like, white people feeling like, oh, my identity is being erased. It's like, no, it fucking isn't. Like
No,
you can make art and movies that like appeal to like different audiences and different people, and they can cover totally different things, and like your story can still be told.
it's a good time to be white, Donna.
It's a good time to be white. It was a good time to be white many years ago as well. It's still a good time to be white.
Oh man. Really quick, I know this is I'm happy with how we've been able to discuss these movies and it's only been an hour and like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I do think that this movie, this film,
This film.
um is also going to be giving again another improper lesson to Hollywood with this whole thing with IMAX 70 millimeter.
Mm,
So I saw this movie in IMAX. I saw this movie in 70 millimeter.
mm,
Unfortunately, there's only like 30 or 40 theaters in the country
yeah.
that actually have the capabilities, or in the world, I think,
To
that have
do
the
70
capability
millimeter.
to do 70 millimeter.
Yeah.
A lot of them are in California and New York,
Yeah. Of course.
obviously.
Yeah.
A goddamn shame that Illinois got rid of theirs because it used to be the one in Navy Pier,
Sad.
I think. I
Maybe.
think it was the one in Navy Pier that had
Yeah.
capability for 70. The closest one's in fucking Indiana,
Ugh.
which is garbage fucking state.
Take that away from Indiana. They don't deserve.
They
They
do
don't.
not
They
deserve
don't
nice
deserve a nice
things.
screen.
They
Yeah.
do deserve nice things. Um, I would say, as far as his movies go, this is the one that least needs 70 millimeter.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think I think it feels the most gimmicky.
Yeah.
I watched the movie in IMAX. I do feel like the sound in this movie was very good.
Sound was
It
great.
helped add to a lot of the tension in the scenes.
Yeah. Sound was great.
Um, but I do think that like it you do not if you watch this movie in like Pilsen screen,
Yeah.
like I think you'll get still enough of like the character drama and like
Yeah. For sure.
what you need to
For
enjoy
sure.
this movie a lot. Um,
Saw it in Dolby.
I'm jealous that
Excellent.
I did not see it in Dolby.
Excellent.
That must have been
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
What a fucking bastard. Um, Jason Clark plays in this movie, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, such a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
That's the that's
Yeah.
that's the last thing I had to say.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I'm sad I was out of the country and I couldn't get to experience Barbenheimer on Barbenheimer Day. But you know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
That's
It
can't have
was
everything.
a busy summer, and the fact that we are doing this almost a month out,
Just kind of shows.
but I can guarantee you we release this and someone's going to listen because
It's
it's
still
that
that.
ingrained in like our zeitgeist right now.
Yes.
Very cool, Kanye. All right. We will be back shortly with,
With a film of lesser quality.
excuse me? This is the event of the summertime, though. It's
The
this and Blue Beetle.
sad event of this.
The Meg 2. We'll be
Yeah.
back in a little bit. Thanks again for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe and share with your friends.
Yes.
Until the next time, he has been
He
Thano,
has been Javier.
and this has been the Cine-Scoots podcast. Bye.
Bye.